All right, everybody, let's tighten it up. He's gonna be here any minute. Are you sure we're good to go? Dash, we're so happy to have you here to shoot this promo for your return to host Spring Finals.
You're giving the fans what they want.
Yeah, look, I'm excited to be back, right? Of course, but it's not about me, you know? It's about the finals. It's about Cloud9 looking to defend their title, right? Or FlyQuest fighting for their first ever championship.
Welcome back, Dash.
Good to be back, but remember, look, it's not about me, right? It's about bringing the LCS to Raleigh and 10,000 screaming fans cheering for their favorite teams. Namaste. Remember, it's about the players, guys, right? It's not about me. You know, it's about crowning our MVP. You know, the player who puts it all on the line, the teammate that everyone can rely on, and the person who always pushes their limits. It's about the agony of defeat, like the sweet taste of victory. See, this guy knows what I'm talking about. Hey, what's up, Licorice? Sorry. Remember, right, it's about the rookies versus the veterans, right? The underdogs and the upsets, the reverse sweeps and the silver scrapes. Look, love the energy, guys. A little pitchy right here. If we could work on that for the future, that'd be great. But it's about so much more. You know? We gotta be thinking about those kids at home, you know, the ones who are watching, hoping that they too one day might be able to hoist a trophy of their own. It's not about me. Wow. You bet your ass, well. We got it? Got it. All right, let's get to work.
Hello, everyone.
Oh!
I honestly didn't expect that. Hello, everyone. And welcome to LCS Finals, a weekend coming to you live from the PNC Arena here in Raleigh, North Carolina. It is good to be back alongside Mark, Emily, Jat, and Raz for the LCS waiting room. How you been?
How have you been, man?
I've been well, man. I've been home watching you guys work. It's been a joy to see what you guys have come up with for the LCS this year. And I'm just glad to be a little piece of this finals weekend as we've got the three best teams competing here for the title. Let's take a look at that bracket. Let's refresh. Let's see if I know how to do my job still here. All right, it's Cloud9, that #1 seed, awaiting the winner of today's matchup in the finals tomorrow. Today's matchup, of course, between the second-seeded Fly and the 6th-seeded Golden Guardians. What a way we got to this matchup that we have here today.
They're still here, man. Golden Guardians, we said it after like 4 weeks. We legitimately think this team is good, and then we just kind of forgot about it for a few weeks. But no, they're actually here.
Yeah, they're here, they're looking damn good, and they're playing for something big today. Not only the chance to fight C9 in the finals, but for either of our teams, a win here means they would join Cloud9 at MSI. It's important to note that Cloud9 already making it in qualification by holding that final spot tomorrow. But winners here also get it. So you're fighting for a whole heck of a lot here today, not just a shot at the LCS title.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on. I know I've seen a few of the players in the back just like focusing on today's work because a lot's on the line, and I'm interested to see what the MSI format has going for us.
Oh, are you interested to see?
I'm interested to see it.
Well, guess what, Raz? We got something to help you out with that. Just now, MSI is around the corner, and we're going to hand things over to our boy, Freak, to explain us the MSI format.
Hey everyone, I'm Freak, here to give you a preview of the new format changes coming to the mid-season invitational. MSI is expanding to include more teams, going from 11 to 13. The LCK, LPL, LEC, and LCS will each send 2 teams, while the LLA, CBLOL, PCS, VCS, and LJL will each send 1. MSI will now be 2 stages, and the whole thing is double elimination. Play-ins will feature 2 groups of 4 teams each that play through a double elimination bracket. The winners of each group and the winner of the last chance advancement match between the 2 lower bracket winners will all move forward. Those 3 teams will advance to playoffs with the 5 remaining teams to face off in a double elimination best-of-5 bracket until we crown a winner.
So that's what we have in store ahead of us when it comes to international competition and MSI. And speaking of MSI and kind of some recent news, of course, that's happened in the scene lately, we got to recognize that 2 of the top performers for North America MSI historically are playing in today's matchup in Huhi and Stixxay. You have to go all the way back to 2016 to remember these times.
Yeah.
But what a time it was for CLG on the international stage.
Yeah, these are some really big moments. This was one of the first, like, man, maybe North America can do it. They went something like 7-3 in the group stage. They had range supports. People were saying Stixxay was one of the best players at the tournament. There were some good times.
It was also a really huge shock, right? Because Stixxay had just replaced Doublelift. Even though they had previously won the title, they weren't necessarily favorites going up against a ramping up TSM. And they also helped set the global meta. Like one of the few times where North America has helped set the global meta in an international competition. It came from that CLG team.
That's our boy Aframu right there,
Yep.
getting it done. Now, of course, this reminiscing of CLG's performance at MSI does come with a little bit of a sting. In that just this week it was announced that CLG was acquired by NRG here for the LCS. And so we do, in a sense, bid farewell to one of our longest standing orgs, an org that helped kick off the LCS in its inception.
Yeah, and there's some nostalgia here. So what we've done is we've all kind of thought of some big CLG moments from the past. And one thing I remember was the very first game of LCS ever was CLG versus TSM in this little rinky-dink Santa Monica studio with no fans. You see Urgot, Malphite,
freaking Riv,
CLG.
too.
Jouster Jungle. I forgot about that.
I mean, half of the champion splash arts have changed,
The
right?
old map just hurts your eyes to look at.
What do you mean? It's beautiful to me.
I love it. I love it. Chouster. I mean, so many of these names too, right? That just historically mean so much.
FF?
Development of the scene. FFs were a thing back then, man.
think they did.
Yeah, you were allowed to FF back in the day.
Good times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good times. You're already done with that game. Get me out of here.
LCS history was an FF? No way.
I am going to shout out the current CLG team, actually. Specifically, we're going to watch a little bit of them going up against C9 in their series last year. They did actually end up losing this series, but it was kind of a shock that this CLG team could do as well as they could against one of the best teams in the LCS. And I think it's really cool to see how this roster has grown and evolved. They decided to stick with that same roster going into this year. And so I did want to give a shout out because this was kind of the revitalization of CLG after they kind of fumbled for a few years.
Absolutely.
The small silver lining, of course, is that those 5 guys and the immediate coaching staff, I believe, are all
They said
moving
they're
over to
keeping
NRG.
the League of Legends vertical. So we'll
Right,
see
so
what happens
at least
there.
those guys, different name on top for their team, but the same people.
Yeah, keeping the brand alive on that one, which is what I enjoyed a lot. So, I mean, I wish the best for them going into NRG. And just thinking about it, you know, what made the brand strong for me was when I was watching Worlds Season 2. And it reminded me, because I used this one, which was the base race they had versus SK, that had triple teleport.
You picked this one?
Yes, I did. It was one that was special to me because even though they were already out of the event, they won this event, or at least they won this game specifically, and it reminded me of the time in which Counter Logic were Counter Logic. When they went to OGN and they had these like ridiculous strategies, they had their dual lane sent mid lane. They were a team that was always incredibly creative and challenged the meta. People called it cheese, but it was ultimately what they defended as strategy. So it was fun to see that organization. I love that you had their first game in LCS, but that was a kind of an idea that they carried on since the beginning.
For a minute, I thought you were going to pick CLG EU versus WE.
Oh, no, we don't want to.
With the origin of Silver Scrapes. And
Yeah,
they
true.
did have a European team.
Yeah, they had a hand in that. Look at them go.
I mean, I just appreciate the history back then, and there's a Wild West time. So I actually pulled a clip from back when CLG was actually competing in Korea and had an iconic shot.
근데 지금 암호으로 보시면은 대단히 신중하게 붕대 던지기를 고르고 골라서 최선의 상황을 만들어내고 있어요. 자, 일부러 기다렸다가 꿰뚫게 스푼미라의 저주 더블 리프트 누누가 또 느려지고 자, 정화로 빠져나가면서 무빙 샷 더블 리프트 레드가 있거든요. 레벨이 2인데 많이 날아요. 더블 리프트 그렇죠. 전멸 살았어요. 누누 살았어요. 차우스터 와 CLG 이게 CLG 야 이게 CLG 그리고 에리비아 합류 이렐리아가 그 사이에 이렐리아가 이야 와 CLG의 전 세계 리그 오브 레전드 팬들이 열광하는 이유는 바로 이런 장면들이 나온다는 거거든요. 와 에리비아 붕대 맞추고 와
I mean, look, I'm so glad that you brought that up, though, Mark, because it points to how, you know, not only CLG, but Doublelift as being a core member of CLG kind of transcended our region's borders, right? And we've seen that play through all the way to this year's LCS, where Prince talked about how meaningful it was for him to finally meet Doublelift as an idol, and you kind of get a little bit of that in that picture. But hold up.
What?
Because we've been having this whole damn conversation and segment when we actually have a founding member of CLG on the broadcast team. We didn't ask Kobe for his favorite CLG, but get in here, Kobe. Get in here, my friend. Let's go.
Oh my God.
Let's go. You want to talk about the origins of CLG? We can't do it without this man.
So many amazing memories of CLG. Of course, playing with them, you know, winning WCG and getting a gold medal for North America. But really, the best CLG memory has got to be them winning their first LCS championship, their title in 2015 over TSM in Madison Square Garden. Them to finally win an LCS championship, the underdogs over TSM, and double-elimination to finally get a trophy for his trophy case. That moment was huge.
There are so many layers to it, a lot of which you already hit, right? The idea that it was the first LCS trophy, but it was over TSM. The fact that it was in Madison Square Garden, which would later acquire CLG, and so again, kind of was the birth of what that org would become. Of course, they would go on to win another trophy off of that. I had the privilege of running the finals interview in which Hotshot absolutely broke down in tears, but you could see through that how meaningful that first trophy really was.
Yeah, it was amazing. We were actually, I was casting it with you, with
It was
Jack.
crazy. Everyone was thinking TSM was probably going to win.
And the stadium was just so loud, packed to the rafters with these passionate fans, really invested in the rivalry.
It's one of my fondest memories. Well, Kobe, I know that you've got a whole best of 5 ahead of you, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you for joining us, though.
All right, have fun.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Everybody. All right, let's see what we got up next. It's some more news around the LCS that has been breaking out over the course of this week. Just yesterday, Bjergsen announced that he would be officially retiring from League of Legends. And so it's, you know, with, I think, solemn hearts to some degree, that we do say goodbye to one of NA's greatest.
Yeah, it was a really good video. If you haven't had the chance to watch it, definitely check it out. And just sounded like his time in the scene is done. It doesn't seem similar to his move to coaching, where he talked about he still viewed it as, oh, I'm invested, I'm competing, this kind of stuff. Here he's taking a step away to kind of explore what else life has to offer him.
Yeah, and he mentioned that he's been playing or coaching for 11 years, competing in one specific game. So he's definitely going to take some time to find himself. And one thing I really like about it is the outpouring of support by a lot of people who all have anecdotes of what Bjergsen did either for them or surprised them with. Like, oh yeah, he asked me for Yasuo tips in Season 6, the only pro player to do so, et cetera, et cetera. He said this nice thing to me in 2014. Like, he's just been such a professional within the League of Legends scene, and it is very sad to see him go.
And the one that hit me hard was also just how relatable the feeling of this game has been a big part of my life. Like since 2011, 2012, however long you've been playing this game or it's been a part of you, it's shaped your identity, you grew up with it. It's something that as you are literally just seeing him grow up alongside the game, the amount of relationships that he has made. I also remember a lot of the friendships that I've made, how it was a form of escape. Oh my God!
I mean, there's been an arc here for Bjergsen, to say the least. But how cool, to your point, Raz, this idea. I mean, I think because for all of us here, both in this arena, watching at home, League of Legends is a big deal, right? It has meant something great in our lives, but to see somebody who has played at the highest levels be able to reminisce and recognize that impact that it has had on his entire being is pretty incredible. And so we wish Bjergsen the absolute best in his endeavors moving forward. We thank him rather, for the years of entertainment that he has borne to us. And interestingly enough, while he is one of the top title holders in the LCS, holding 6 to his name, only surpassed by a couple of people, tied with Xmithy, beaten a little bit by double-elimination. Today, Impact has the opportunity to buy himself the right to compete for a 6th title tomorrow and possibly tie in that trio with Xmithy and Bjergsen.
Yeah, it's crazy to see that 2 of these guys on this list are still competing, double-elimination as well, of course, but Impact in finals weekend yet again. He has kind of become one of the final bosses of the LCS in recent years, winning with multiple teams, Team Liquid, C9, or EG as well, like just all over the place.
So with that, I think it's time for us to finally refocus towards the matchup that we have in front of us today, and we're going to use the Samsung SSD Fast 5 to do so. It's our final Samsung SSD Fast 5 of the split. And while we're taking a look at some of these incredible stats, make sure that you at home use the code SSD990LCS through April 9th to get 20% off 990 Pro 1 and 2 terabyte SSDs.
Yeah, I mean, just a small hit on that one was just how good Licorice has been in this playoffs. I know we'll talk about it as we go forward, but that's really unlocked Golden Guardians to being as creative as they are as a team.
See plenty of support already for both the squads out there in the stands today. Let's refresh ourselves on the rosters that will take to the stage in just 45 minutes time. We're going to start on the Golden Guardians side. As you mentioned, Raz, a surprise for many as the 6th seed here in the playoff picture. It's Licorice, River, Gori, Stixxay, and Huhi.
Yeah, and I mean, just taking a look at it, first team All-Pro Gori has been really huge for this team alongside third team All-Pro Huhi.
Now on the other side, a little bit of a switch up coming into the day. We've got Impact, Spica, VicLa, and Prince. Those names are all familiar, but some of you might have forgotten that Winsome was a big part of FlyQuest's early success in the regular season from weeks 1 to 4. He'll be taking to the stage yet again as the starter here in game number 1.
Yeah, that was when FlyQuest looked their best this year, was with Winsome in the starting lineup. Him and Prince seem to have better synergy in the bot lane, and so I can see why FlyQuest is making this move, try and reclaim some of that in a final push to make it to MSI.
And hearing from Nick Pham and also their general manager, just overall, like the goals that he had when he went into the Salt League, Winsome brought back, and it felt like he hit their goals as a leader and also just mechanically. So bringing him back up, feeling that he's going to be better than we last saw him.
Do you know the last time a team, after dropping out of the winners bracket, switched supports? Do you remember when that was?
This is a 2020
no,
TSM
but,
story.
Okay, I was about to say.
TSM story. It was TSM with Biofrost, and they did go on to win the title. So not unheard of that teams make support swaps halfway through the playoffs. And
well, there you have it. And for both of these orgs, right, they're trying to get done what they've never done before in their organizational history. For FlyQuest, yes, they've made it all the way to the finals before, but have yet to hoist that trophy. For the Golden Guardians, they've already surpassed their best ever postseason finish, but they still can get a little bit further.
And in 2020 spring, FlyQuest subbed out their top laner and brought in Solo once they dropped to the losers bracket and made it all the way to second. Anyway,
that's
I think the one to focus on that jumps out to me in this is just the Golden Guardians, right? The fact that their best finish ever was 5th or 6th. They don't even make the playoffs all that often, but they have a real chance now to win this series and go to MSI.
Yeah, and once again, we'll talk about this going further, but the fact that they didn't make a considerable move that the fans zeroed in on and be like, this will make them a championship team. It was a slow building process for them. So the fact that they hit 6th seed, there were moments throughout the split where they were high and everybody was like, wait a minute, they're a real team. But people didn't fully believe in them until this playoff run.
Well, they'll have to get it done against a formidable FlyQuest if they want to book that ticket to MSI. We are heading for our first break, but when we return, Jat will be talking, or taking a look rather, at what makes FlyQuest great in our team fight breakdown. See you here in just a bit.
Made it happen and we all became dropping like flies. Tenacity tries to survive, and Closer's gonna lose his Guardian Angel.
Hey everyone, Jat here. In the 2023 LCS Spring Playoffs, FlyQuest took down 100 Thieves to secure their spot in LCS Finals weekend. The pivotal moment in the series came in Game 2 at 28 minutes when FlyQuest was down 4,500 gold and an Ocean Soul to 100 Thieves. The Thieves were pushing bot lane with their Baron buff when FlyQuest executed the perfect flank engage teamfight to ace 100 Thieves 5-0 and slingshot themselves ahead in the game. 100 Thieves have what is known as a front-to-back teamfight composition. In controlled situations, they want their takes in front and damage dealers in back. As long as the damage dealers are in range of the tanks and able to deal damage, they're likely to win the fight. FlyQuest, on the other hand, have weaker front-to-back teamfighting than 100 Thieves, so their best fights happen when they're able to flank and find a way to bypass the front line of 100 Thieves in order to access their carries. This is hard to do though, because going in too early as a flanker can easily lead to a quick death and a lost teamfight. This fight was timed perfectly by FlyQuest. Let's get into it. Having recently acquired Baron, 100 Thieves is pushing bot lane to try and break open an inhibitor. For FlyQuest, they've sent Impact's K'Sante top and Spica's Wukong mid to push out minion waves and make it more difficult for 100 Thieves to open multiple inhibitors with their Baron buff. When 100 Thieves realized that there were only 3 people remaining to defend FlyQuest's base, they try to start a 5v3 teamfight. It's a poor engage though, and FlyQuest are able to escape while only burning Ayla's Lulu ultimate in defense. At this point, 100 Thieves have moved themselves too far into FlyQuest's base and need to retreat. When Spica reveals himself by killing 100 Thieves' ward, they know they need to retreat immediately. FlyQuest is perfectly coordinated and approaches from 3 different angles at the same time, making it extremely difficult for 100 Thieves to respond. Spica's Wukong ignores Closer's Xin Zhao, who is trying to zone him, and then uses his Warrior Trickster to juke around Thresh's Flay and find the perfect angle onto Doublelift's Jinx. At the same time, VicLa's Taliyah rides his Weaver's Wall into the fight. He hops off aggressively and lines up a perfect seismic shove onto Doublelift's Jinx, forcing him to use Stopwatch. This marks the end for Jinx, as Wukong and K'Sante chain their crowd control and kill Doublelift's Jinx before he can get off another auto attack. Bjergsen's Orianna manages to land a 3-man shockwave after his own Zhonya's, but it's too little, too late, as nobody on 100 Thieves is in position to do damage. Princess Zeri follows Closer up towards mid lane and completes the ace for FlyQuest. Looking back, even though FlyQuest's engage was near perfect, it's not to say that 100 Thieves couldn't have done anything better. Ideally, they would all retreat faster after their failed engage in order to avoid Spica's Wukong flank. If Busio's Thresh could have been further away from Doublelift's Jinx, he also could have lanterned him to safety. If Bjergsen's Orianna didn't stick around in base to defend Sion, he could have blocked the corridor the Prince approached from with Orianna Ball. Lastly, if Closer had opened up on Spica's Wukong with his Xin ultimate, he may have given enough time for his carries to run to safety. Hindsight is always 20/20 though, and 100 Thieves were completely demolished by FlyQuest's flank engage. The teamfight win helped slingshot FlyQuest ahead in gold and eventually win the game and the series 3-0, officially earning them a spot in the LCS Spring Finals weekend.
Welcome back to LCS Finals weekend, where Jack gives us a brilliant breakdown of some of FlyQuest's top-tier team play, and at the same time, the fans in the arena give a warm welcome to a number of the players who are stepping on stage to tech check and get ready to do battle in just 34 minutes. But as we talk about how incredible FlyQuest has been as a team, Raz, we also need to do service to Golden Guardians and what we've seen in terms of a shift from the regular season to the postseason from them.
Yes, so while it was great to be able to see how FlyQuest found success through their in-game play, I thought the drafting from Golden Guardians had been completely stellar. So like in the game 2 of EG versus Golden Guardians, for me, it was actually the flexes. So K'Sante pricked early, flex towards top and mid. Tristana also coming in as a flex, but as a response to Zeri, because the idea alongside Rel to be able to just blow her up in an all-in engage. So I felt like it was really impossible for the enemy team to be able to recognize 100% where the draft is going. This one was a beauty, just from the Rumble coming in, another K'Sante flex, as a response, the Rumble to the Malphite. So I wanted to make that comparison because In the playoffs, Golden Guardian has been the most flexible team within the draft, but during the regular season, a lot of the times they went to a Renekton, Sion, they blind picked a lot of their lanes, which meant that they had to go jungle or support first pick, and so it really limited them during the regular season. But hearing from the players going into the playoffs, they found a lot of comfort in the game. They were playing a lot more disciplined, which allowed them to be a lot more creative.
And it was really cool talking to Licorice afterwards, and I'm gonna pull up some stats here, which is basically his counter pick rate during the season was 6th lowest among all players in the spring split. Now we're gonna flip it to this playoffs, and he's at 88%, which is 2nd among all players in playoffs. So obviously there's a massive shift in how they're playing around Licorice, which is something that he himself kind of recognized in the 100 Thieves series, where he's like, they're not really gonna go topside. We can use counter picks, we can use the map. And he also did say that he thinks Rumble is way stronger than people are giving it credit for. He knows that OMG Shanji had played it previously, so it was really cool to talk to him about how he's kind of become this massive pivot point in their winning strategy.
And it's a perfect time to do it, knowing how many top laners are willing to blind pick their picks so early. Of course, we've seen it from 100 Thieves, we've seen it from EG in the last series, so, and we're now having Impact. So I think if you're FlyQuest, you need to hold on top lane pick, knowing how Licorice is willing to play, and he's playing much better during the playoffs.
Well, we talk about the pivots that Golden Guardians have made in Champion Select. Let's talk about the pivot that FlyQuest made in their roster here.
Oh, here we go.
Coming in to today, we will have that support swap, Mark. It's Winsome in for Ayla.
And this is what we were kind of alluding to earlier about the difference in Prince's performance. These are his stats, actually, with each of these supports. In the first 4 weeks, Winsome was in, and he was looking like the clear runaway MVP of the league with his domination both in lane and out of lane, absolutely running the league in terms of kills. The Ayla change happened. There were other problems that they had on FlyQuest. I don't want to make it sound like it was all Ayla that led to a drop in their performance, but I think they're clearly trying to reclaim some of that dominance that they saw out of Prince through that first round robin.
Yeah, and you can just hope that FlyQuest can find the form that they had on stage in that first round robin of the LCS, because everything just felt so much more coordinated. One thing about Prince is it didn't feel like he was, I mean, I'm referencing the Drive video where his dad was talking, but it didn't feel like he would ever die on AD carry when he was playing with Winsome, but he was playing like he was under more pressure in all the games that they had with Ayla. So Prince has been a great player so far this split.
And this is a little fun thing that we dug up on the desk. We decided to do those kind of radar charts, agreed on 5 categories that a lot of players, you know, express themselves in: team fight, aggression, macro, mental fortitude, laning, and then all of us kind of rank them on that. This is an aggregate showing a player profile, I guess you would say, of the type of person they are. And Prince is someone who is extremely aggressive and absolutely smurfs team fights.
What? I feel, is that a correct score for the mental fortitude?
Kind of depends.
Are we? I just want to push you guys on it because I wasn't a part of this voting block that happened. So I'm just gonna represent maybe some critical eyes out there that might go, well, hold on a second.
I encourage people to see after the triple kill in the drinks game what he did immediately afterwards. I'm just putting that out there. It was a tilting moment. I think whenever it comes to that one, it's you can't really examine what he's thinking during those moments, but I will say the team as a whole is going through it.
Yeah. It's also scrim rumors and things you hear behind the scenes where you can't be like, oh, let me just air a clip of.
Totally. All right, well, Prince, no doubt a force to be reckoned with. Let's talk about 2 of the playmakers for the squads, though. The junglers, it's always natural to go there when we talk about getting things instigated and going for the teams. I'm going to hand things over to Emily to break down some jungle paths.
Yeah, let's look at some river jungle pathing. I'm excited to look at it. Hopefully you are too. So this is from their game against EG. It's after River gets a complete full clear on topside, while Inspired actually had a gank mid, didn't get a flash off of it. They know exactly where Vulcan is, not only because he's going to come up and get spotted out by the sapling, but additionally, he had just popped scryers to see where River was in the topside bot jungle. And now River knows essentially the path that Vulcan's going to come down. So as soon as Vulcan comes down here, despite the fact that you can see Inspired is actually matching on the bot side, they immediately get the jump on Vulcan in the tri-brush, are able to kill him immediately. And now River is going to path up. The little ping there is going to be a ward that JoJo actually puts down. So JoJo is going to see River coming up to his lane. You can decide whether maybe he should have played a little less aggressively in this moment. He had kind of restabilized that lane after the inspired gank that I previously mentioned. But yeah, River recognizes that he can immediately go in, pair up with Gori. This is something that he's been doing really, really well, just recognizing when Gori has these windows of opportunity, linking up with him or Huhi to make plays in mid and bot.
Yeah, and I love that point because that's something we've seen from River since he joined the LCS, like as a North American fans. And it's actually really important to bring this up because I want to make a point that the fans a lot of the time can be really fickle on players. So when he was on Dignitas, obviously on a team that was failing, a lot of criticism can come through, but people who are analysts or just generally who watch a lot of the games are like, wait, no, he's playing really well on a team that's not doing well at all. But then he joins a winning squad in Golden Guardians with a lot of help in lanes, and it's been popping off. And it's the same thing actually happened with spica, where prior to a losing season on TSM, he was an MVP. But then you go into what was a really tough time where they bring in a lot of imports, really green imports from China, and there was a lot of growing pains. And a lot of people were questioning spica and his performances. And like a lot of it, some of it you can say is fair criticism, but a lot of it as a role of a jungler is playing to your lanes, and if your lanes are doing poorly and in the first 10 minutes are not going well, then you look bad. But it's actually really like a breath of fresh air to take a step back, see them on our winning teams, and see them back performing again. So I just wanted to push that out there. They're on winning situations, so you can see them at their best.
Yeah, I think spica's been very impressive this year of River as well. Both of them feel pretty complete where they have aggressive early games. They're making plays a lot for their team, getting them fed.
Yes.
It's been really cool to see the resurgence out of both those guys.
Yeah, and what a journey it's been, right, for this Golden Guardians organization to land on the roster that they have and to find their way as far into playoffs as they ever have before. We actually had an opportunity to speak to Inero and Spooks on their experiences building Golden Guardians over the years. Here, take a look.
Yeah, I mean, so I came in like at the end of their like double tent split. I was doing consulting and I quit Echo Fox. It was surprisingly like a pretty positive group, despite the fact that everything was like rough. But it was nice. Like I felt pretty comfortable coming in. Felt like I could like build something up, and even if it wasn't perfect initially, like I had the like bandwidth to kind of help build it out and the trust to do that, which felt good. I don't think that's a really common thing in esports. It's usually like, hey man, this is your team, like do good or else. Like as you can see, it took like 2 years to get to that 2020 roster, and then it took like another 2 years of building up from nothing. When you don't have the like brand rep behind you to just pull people, you gotta work your way up to it. It takes time. So one of the things I told Kirk and Hunter, like no one's ever gonna join our team over X other team. Like we're double 10th place and we're not spending as much money. Like, you're gonna get Jensen to come to your team? Good luck, bro. Like, that's not gonna happen, you know?
Golden Guardians was intimidating team to join because the players were really good, right? So it's like the whole team was like the Hornsa, FBI, bunch of guys that are like intimidating to work with. If I didn't work with that roster the first year, it would have been really hard for me to develop because it kind of like set the bar of what you need to do.
GG's resolve hold strong, punching their tickets to North Carolina, playing finals weekend for the first time.
I said the league is pretty close. Like I think that there'll be like a clear like top 6, top 5, and it's gonna be like coach diff. It's like it's just gonna be which team gets like gelled together best and has better coaches. He's like, oh, it's good pressure. Like no pressure at all, right?
I will say like pretty fortunate. The people around me are like, I think Nick gives us a lot of control that other GMs wouldn't, like a lot of freedom to kind of like run the team how we want to run it. And Aaron, like Choo-Choo's, he's been very like hardworking this split. But I would say the whole group, the leadership group at Golden Guardians has made everything feel really smooth, which I'm like pretty grateful for. So yeah.
Just win game, you feel nothing.
Just
lose
win
game, you feel horrible.
Just win 5-hit. That's like the TLDR.
We're very, very happy to be welcoming Inero to the desk to further the story of Golden Guardians. Inero, I'm going to kick it off with a classic, but it's been a long road and many, many years in the making here for Golden Guardians to get to the point you're at today. What's going through your head as you stand in this arena about to do battle and fight for a final spot tomorrow?
I don't know, man. When I get stressed, like I just kind of, everything shuts off. Like I've just been kind of autopiloting through the day. I know a couple of guys here probably see me walking around the arena just zoned out. I don't know, there's a lot going on, but I'm pretty excited.
when it comes to building this roster, you kind of talk about the difficulties of having to establish a team and an organization that doesn't have the kind of brand identity that a TSM or a CLG, you know, that has more history in League of Legends was. Like, what really was your approach then to building out a roster and finding that talent that maybe was overlooked by other organizations?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had to like look where other people weren't and try to like be ahead of every move. Like, not to say we were perfect at that at all, and I think everyone in the community knows that, but also just doing our jobs well, like on the competitive side, just like make sure we're not messing up, make sure we're doing everything possible to be good, take feedback, be good, get better constantly. Just keeping that improvement mindset for everyone and trying to have that culture, I think does a lot. Like, you got to be on point with that or you're screwed.
I got a question about this year's roster in particular in 2023. Did you feel like you had something different, or has something different happened throughout the year to lead to this success?
I guess like something different in the terms of like going 22 to 23. Like, yeah, obviously our roster's different and the culture is different because of like who we have. Like, we rebuilt basically the whole team, bringing in like Gori and Huhi. But honestly, no, like it's felt similar. Like, we've had the same staff, like the culture has felt very similar in terms of like competitive nature that we have. And it's just been like finding pieces that work better together, finding ways to like upgrade our guys that we have. So honestly, not too different, really. That's why everything's felt pretty easy to get into, and it's felt kind of like that every year.
So I love that you just said it felt kind of easy to get into, because my question was about kind of like how tough of a process it is. Because like when you are out there building a team with less resources, you get that, you strike gold with like Closer, Huhi, FBI, but then obviously team gets taken away, and then you have to kind of rebuild from that. So like, how tough is it for you, or at least the staff as a whole, when you're going through that process?
At least for me, I mean, you know my back history, Raz. I've been through worse. I'm used to going through. Like, look, I don't care what position I'm at. I'm happy to like push through, like whatever. Like, I don't let that kind of thing get me down. And
yeah.
I mean, for like our coaching staff that's here too, that's been working through it. Like, we got guys coming from OS. Like, they've been through the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have like, this like really nice life that you can just chill on. Like, oh, everything's great. I'm making hundreds of thousands of dollars every day, right?
Yeah.
Like, these guys got to work for it and make it happen. And so we've kind of kept that same like intensity always.
And so a small one is like, you made it a goal for yourself to get to the finals for a reason. Like, you're a North Carolina native.
Yeah.
How does it feel for you to be at an event like this?
It feels pretty good, you know? Like, Greensboro's not too far, 45 minutes to an hour away, at least where my house was. It feels pretty sick. And going to London, like I told you before, like I started esports in Bangor, Northern Ireland, which is, it's there. It's close enough. Like, shit, I'd love to do it again. I'd love to go even further.
I love how you're already like, we're going to London, you get the tickets already for the team.
I'm mentally prepared. I know our team can do it, so I'm confident.
There it is.
All right, well, Inero, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to let you go reconvene with the team, or go back into your blank stare for the rest of the day. Whichever it is you choose to do, but we wish you and the team the best of luck today, all right?
Yeah, thanks
Thank
so
you
much,
again
guys.
for joining us. We're heading to a break. On the other side, we'll be discussing Huhi's fourth consecutive trip to finals weekend. Don't go anywhere.
We can.
Zeri. Just slow. Cut it back.
Can you fight still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Jerry.
I'm on Vi.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Ari. Yeah, just jump away.
I flash.
Yeah. I have W.
Let's place.
Nice. Yo, watch my position.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hex slash.
Go.
Ulting. Coming.
Yeah.
Jerry.
I got him.
Go fight.
Okay. I go.
Front.
Yeah.
Vi behind.
It's okay. Don't care.
Don't care.
Me and
Yeah,
come
mid.
I have a really good
ITP. Go.
Hitting the front.
Jerry.
I look Jerry.
Yeah, Zeri.
Jerry.
Yeah. Go.
Yeah.
Help me. I don't wanna die.
I ultimate.
Go ahead.
Oh, what a perfect way to end that bit right there. I mean, for Golden Guardians, stellar team fighting, but also stellar communication. And Huhi, such a big part of that communication, it seems, here for Golden Guardians. But Emily, we have to talk about this guy and his career, and in particular the last 2 years, right, in the support position, and now how he has become a household name in that regard.
Man, Huhi is so underrated. I hate actually using the word underrated, but like in this case, I think it's appropriate. I remember when we were looking at like our top 10 LCS players of all time, I actually did put him in my top 10 because he swapped roles. So it's like, oh, we can't put him with mids, we can't put him with supports, but he is so valuable to every single team he's been on. Every single person who's played with Huhi calls out his macro, his map awareness, and you heard it in team comms, like his just awareness of, oh, I am looking, I have a really good angle. Here is my setup, and kind of helping corral the team before a fight.
It's the kind of stuff that's the hardest to see as someone on the outside. You don't hear comms usually, you don't see those kinds of clips. And so a lot of the things that he does best and what makes him stand out in his position are the kinds of things that are harder to appreciate. So I think that leads to that kind of underappreciated angle.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, and those comms were a lot team fight comms, but I feel like the best comms he ends up providing are like before a start of a fight. If you're going to a Drake fight or a Baron fight, he'll tell you the setup, and a lot of times if a AD carrier's responsibility is like letting his team know what he's afraid of, like that he doesn't have flash, he will say that immediately, just let the team know and everyone's on board of like what the win condition is, what the lose con is. It's like, just let them know, hey, just be careful for this fight. So there's a lot of that makes it, if you're the AD carrier for Huhi, if you're on his team, you feel really comfortable going into the next fight because there's a plan ready.
Well, and his leadership, right, has been a big reason, I have to assume, for the recent success of the many teams that he has been on. And we can take a look at kind of how the rosters for both of these squads boast their career championships. Impact doing the heavy lifting over there for FlyQuest, Jack.
Yeah, this was a little bit surprising when we pulled it to be like, holy, Impact with 7, and then a bunch of general inexperience in terms of winning your own major league for the rest of the team. A lot more balance on the Golden Guardian squad. Huhi winning with Stixxay previously, and River getting all those titles from the PCS.
It's just really cool to see because I think a lot of people off brand name are going to jump to FlyQuest because Prince is incredible, and obviously VicLa has been better, and Spica's been amazing too recently. But again, in terms of history, a lot of it actually does favor the Golden Guardians guys.
Exactly, and that's what really is the answer when you ask the question of like, why are they able to show up in big moments, in clutch moments? So like Stixxay when he's able to get the kill on the double lift in the final moments of that series, right? Like that's because they've been in those moments before and they're rekindling kind of like that glory.
And similarly, right, as you can rely on Huhi for some of those big moments, Emily, time and time again, team after team after team has been able to rely on Impact for very much the same things.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a little Draw My Life Impact. So draw my LCS and OGN Champions Korea life. Impact. Jong Impact Young began his pro career as a support for Zenix Storm, which is kind of like almost acted as a farm team for a lot of other teams and champions at that time. He joined SK Telecom T1 as a top laner in 2013. That year, he won the Champions Summer title and the World Championship. In winter 2014, Impact and SKT1K, one of the SK Telecom sister teams, had one of the most dominant domestic splits in LoL history. However, despite this, T1K did not qualify for Worlds that year. In 2015, when SKT merged their two sister teams, Impact left South Korea for North America and Team Impulse. While on Team Impulse and later NRG in 2015 and the beginning of 2016, Impact was actually one of the best LCS tops despite his team's results. In 2016 summer, he joined C9. And Impact's NAR performances, this is where Top Die came from, were a driving force behind C9's 2016 Gauntlet run to qualify for the World Championship. In 2018, Impact joined Team Liquid. There he won 4 LCS titles back to back to back to back. He then won a 5th LCS title with EG in 2022. Impact is known as one of the most consistent top laners in LCS and is always a stabilizing force for his teams. And as we go into some of Impact's international history after this could have been so much longer. I could have drawn like 20 slides just detailing how amazing and consistent Impact always is.
Yeah, I had a long conversation with Impact during the 2020 World Championship, and one thing he said to me about his time in NA is that he's just waiting for someone to come, quote, king him, like show that he doesn't belong, and it just hasn't happened. So he's just going to continue playing at a high level until it does, and I love his mindset and his work ethic to just be able to be at a top level for so long.
Well, that's a great recap of Impact's a very long and storied journey here in competitive League of Legends, but a player who more recently has come to the forefront of people's minds and tongues is that of Prince. And let's take a look at his journey as well as his relationship with his father over League of Legends in The Drive.
우리 아들이 너무 잘났다. 누구보다. 이건 아니고요. 다만 24인데 11년 동안 본인이 가는 길을 포기하지 않고 여기까지 왔다는 거는 24 나이에 경험하기 힘든 발자취라고 생각을 해요. 근데 그것도 물론 제가 초기에 마마 시절에 옆에서 서포트하고 응원한 곳 있지만 결국은 본인이 짊어지고 온 11년이란 말이죠. 그런 점에서는 흔치 않은 제 아들이라고 생각합니다.
Well, I come a long way from the trips and the shaky hands.
Okay, my Prince is dead.
If you're looking down on me, I could really give a good goddamn.
Prince had a phenomenal season, one of the big candidates for MVP of summer.
I'm still finding out who I am.
It's not his time just yet.
Lot of miles out of folds, I'm still finding out who I am.
Prince had a great series, you know, like I don't know if he's ever gonna forget this, to be honest.
And every time it's my fault somehow. Now I know why you don't trust me now.
제 아들의 이름은 이채환입니다. 플라이캐스트 원딜러로 활동 중이고 저희 아들을 프린스라고 부릅니다.
Don't you tread on me. I could hardly sleep, so I don't. And I could hardly speak, so I won't.
그 롤드컵 선발전에서 DRX하고 경기가 끝나 이제 탈락이 확정된 뒤에 그 어떤 말도 걸 수가 없었어요, 채환이한테. 뭐 위로의 말도. 세 손가락 좀 3번 정도의 실수. 총 한 40-50경기 중에서 한 3-4번 정도 진짜 DRX전 패배 후에 그 고개 숙이고 있는데 정말 미치겠더라고요.
저한테 있었던 일들, 그리고 그걸 이겨낸 시간들, 그 경험들, 그거는 저랑 아빠밖에 모르거든요. 아빠가 하신 말씀이 누가 너한테 뭐라 하던 그건 네 인생을 모르니까 그렇게 얘기할 수 있는 거지. 너는 해낼 수 있다. 저도 그렇게 생각하거든요.
제가 이제 사업을 하다 망해가지고 상황이 좋지 않아서 이제 이혼도 하게 되고 그러다 보니까 이제 애들이 어렸는데도 불구하고 케어를 전혀 못했어요.
저희가 굉장히 가난했어요. 그래서 아빠는 이제 집에 못 오시는 상황이었고, 근데 3주인가 한 달 동안 집에서 그냥 쌀이랑 물만 먹으면서 이제 있다가 아빠가 이제 그 이후에 돌아오시고,
좋지 않은 길로 가지만 않으면 감사한다 이런 마음이었는데 이제 게이머를 한다고 하니까 그 부분은 나쁘진 않았어요.
100원짜리 들고 가서 PC방에서 게임하는 게 너무 창피한 거예요. 그래서 그때 집에서 그나마 유튜브는 됐던 것 같거든요. 그 핸드폰 와이파이로. 그래서 하루 종일 그거 본 다음에 PC방 딱 2시간 할 수 있었거든요. 집에 돈이 딱 그 정도 있어가지고 일주일에. 그래서 2시간 가서 그 봤던 게임의 영상들을 머릿속에서 다 떠올리면서 어떻게든 그 플레이를 하고 좀 잘하고 그 시간을 잘 쓰려고
이제 애들 데리고 제가 가서 같이 늦은 시간까지 게임도 하고 이제 게임하는 어른들은 없잖아요. PC방 공간에. 근데 이제 거기서 저도 이제 하다 지치면 전 자요. 전 자고 애들이 이제 한 새벽에 1시, 2시까지 하다가 그렇게 하고 집에 오곤 했는데 일체의 다른 생활이나 커뮤니케이션이 다른 부분으로는 없었어요. 재환이하고의 모든 대화가 거의 99% 롤이에요.
아니 왜 그렇게 게임만 하냐. 내가 너였으면 이제 좀 더 체계적으로 뭐가 잘못됐고 뭐가 잘했는지 그런 걸 적고 무작정 게임만 하는 게 아니라 그건 다 하는 노력이니까 이런 거부터 시작해서 이제 아니 너 왜 거기서 그렇게 했냐 하면 이제 제 머릿속에선 맞는데 아빠가 계속 막 뭐라 하시니까 거기서 대꾸를 할 수가 없었어요. 그게 너무 힘들었어요. 아빠 아무래도 그때는 훨씬 완전 어른이시고 저는 어렸다 보니까 대답도 하기 힘들었고
근데 그 과정에서 사실은 저랑도 다투고 그만한다고 계정을 삭제도 해봤고 그런 과정들이 이제 성장을 해가면서 이제 제가 충고해줄 수 있는 레벨이 아니라서
And talking to all the moments he had to go through, I keep reiterating this, but Lift Sandbox was the team instead of DRX that we all expected to be making it out of the LCK as their 3rd seed. So now he's in another international qualifying match to try to get to that international competition for the first time.
And I love that you mentioned that in that episode of The Drive, the one that killed me the hardest was him saying that he watched back that's like, yes, watching back Worlds and how DRX was hoisting that trophy is like, that could have been me. And obviously the face that he had immediately after is that feel of depression, but knowing that it's going to drive him for the next one. So this is the start of that next chapter.
There's just something so special about that story. I'm still a little bit reeling, so excuse me. We got to look at the man himself backstage, getting ready to dive into it and do battle. It's 2 best-of-5s, 1 to make it to that international competition, and 1 more to hoist that domestic title.
Yeah, and we have stories about Princeton just walking around the LCS studio and how he was a big fan of double-lift growing up and how he's very emotionally attached to League of Legends, unlike a lot of players, and you can see it from that Drive story. So this being his first final in North America with this many fans, it is a really big moment for his life.
I mean, sometimes it just feels like the narrative power takes over. It felt like that last spring with EG and kind of like the young NA talent angle that came up there. It does feel like with this
Mark
drive,
is sowing the seeds.
the son of double lift, you know, the angle that they're playing there. It does feel like if anyone's the anime pro tag of the weekend, you know, have Berserker waiting in the finals with the MVP trophy that he took from Prince. There's a lot of angles.
Because every anime, you lose to the villain, which would be Berserker in this anime at first, and then you fall down, and then you come back and beat him in the...
He's in his training arc.
There's also a little...
You guys are
a little bit of poetry.
You guys are doing a lot of cursing here.
Look, there's a little bit of poetry in watching the Bjergsen retirement video into this as well, to see that 2 different players halfway across the world from each other, right? Talk about how meaningful this game was to them for 11 years of their life, and for Prince, still very much in the midst of his journey. Mark maybe already tipped his cap to his prediction for the day, if he's going to actually stand behind sowing the seeds of fate in this one. Let's talk about predictions. It's FlyQuest Golden Guardians. It's almost game time, Mark. Where are you going? Who's it going to be?
I'm glad we're doing this one first because I flip-flopped late.
What?
Because Winsome coming back in was an angle that I did not anticipate when we initially submitted these at the start of the week. But with him back, I have faith in FlyQuest to win a very hard-fought tooth-and-nail series 3-2.
So from Golden Guardians, flipping over to FlyQuest, along with the substitution. Emily, where are you at?
I'm really boring. My prediction actually matches Mark's. I think, so I'm also going FlyQuest 3-2. My predictions always go by like my confidence indicator in these two teams going up against each other to have a clean series. It's weird though, with both of these teams, if you told me it was a 3-0 either way, I'd be like, I can see that too.
Okay.
I just think I'm really looking at game one. And I am really curious to see what Prince will look like with Winsome back in, because he just seems to have a lot more confidence playing with
I've
him.
got a couple unconvinced faces there at the end of the desk.
What do you think?
What?
Same prediction.
No, come on!
3-2. I don't know. What? I don't know how this happened. We didn't talk about it beforehand. I do think. What? It's a 5-game series. You're getting your money's worth.
You baited me with that face,
I
though,
thought
man.
you were
You
going
baited me
Golden
hard
Guardian.
with that face.
This is disgusting. I'm upset at literally every single one of you. I thought one of you guys would have Golden Guardians. It's Golden Guardians! I think they're gonna take it 3-2, and I think I have a message for all of you. I have a message for all of you. In fact, maybe I need to convince you guys.
Oh,
The hat will look nice on you. You can take a hat as well. Let's start just throwing this at you guys.
Give me something, give me something. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll take a big hoodie.
You want-
Yeah, give me that hoodie.
Woo!
Stuff
I
you
think
have
you would
in
look
there.
nice. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
It's endless. It's endless. I'm
Oh,
just
that's
saying.
clean.
I thought
That looks good.
Oh, no, we got and it doesn't stop there. If you guys change your vote now,
Yeah, we get to keep them.
I could even throw in an FU sock right
Oh
here.
my goodness,
Right
no
here.
way.
They went hard.
Wait, what?
Dude, yeah.
Wow.
Razzies
You guys.
decked out, my
I'm
friend.
telling you guys, it's going to be a Golden Guardians win. What do you guys think?
All right.
The people have spot. What is going on here?
All right.
Pretty split.
Well, I like this because it wasn't just us on the desk who threw our predictions on the line. It was the LCS community as a whole. And so taking a look, yeah, it looks like a bit more of a split when we move away from the 4 analysts here on the desk. Emily, thoughts?
I'm looking at Flowers and the Golden Guardians 3-0, only because if you remember, he was the one that went
always goes
EG 3-0.
Yeah, 'cause he'll
He's like,
only do
I'm
it.
going hard. Yeah. So, I mean, if it happens, Flowers would have called it two finals weekends in a row.
One thing I'll say on the side of Golden Guardians and why I'm going to be happy narratively either way.
Yeah.
FlyQuest has Prince and the amazing story with him. For Golden Guardians, there are so many veterans on this team, and I feel like this league is obsessed with young talent. And as soon as a player isn't at their peak, people are willing to discard them. And these are players that were partially discarded, find their way back onto Golden Guardians, and are proving that narrative to be false.
Yeah, people talk about Bjergsen double-elimination rejoining the league and could they reach the highest heights again? Don't forget about Stixxay, Huhi, Licorice, guys who have touched the top of the mountain but haven't been there in maybe a time or two. And so 20 seconds on the clock. We've got 2 best-of-5s and 3 teams remaining here in spring 2023 of the LCS. And with 10 seconds left to go, it is our lower bracket finals. It is FlyQuest, the 2 seed, up against Golden Guardians, the 6 seed. Let's head down to Rafa to meet our teams.
A new era of the LCS has begun. And now it is time to meet our 2 remaining teams in today's championship qualifier. Do you want to meet them? First up, a squad stacked with legends old and new. They've had their eyes on the trophy all split long. Give it up for FlyQuest! In the top lane, a 5-time champion voted the greatest to ever play the position in LCS history, Impact! In the jungle, LCS champion, 2021 Summer MVP, and the biggest instigator in the league, Spica! At mid lane, it's 3rd team All-Pro and 2022 LCK Rookie of the Year, VicLa! support, making both his playoffs and finals weekend debut, Winsome! Hunting for his first LCS crown, and their opponents looking to make the miracle run through the lower bracket. A team of veterans that have been silencing doubters time after time. Give it up for the Golden Guardians! In the top lane, it's 2020 Spring Champion and counterpick King, Licorice! In the jungle, you don't want to face check his Jarvan. He is a 3-time PCS champion, River! At mid lane, a first team All-Pro in his very first LCS Split, Gori! At support, a 2-time champion, making his 4th straight LCS Finals weekend appearance, Huhi! And last but not least, that AD carry, a 2016 LCS Spring Champion, operating on pure instinct, looking to make his 2nd finals appearance and a 2nd trip to MSI, Stixxay! It's win or go home for these teams, with a shot at their first title and a trip to MSI on the line. North Carolina, are you ready?
I've been waiting on a war since I was young. Since I was a little boy with a toy gun.
It's been 7 years since I was able to play on the finals. It's always been difficult for me because I started off winning. So after that, it just felt like every year after that I didn't win was just a failure. Every time just feels terrible. And every time makes you want to work harder and just try to prove people wrong the next time. And for me, I sometimes felt like there wouldn't be a next time to prove those people wrong.
Oh my God!
Stixxay trips on his left, he's still alive!
They've done it! That was a big play. Every day waiting for the sky to fall.
작년에 좀 허무하게 끝나고 나서 좀 자책을 많이 했는데
For Prince, the new generation of AD carry here, this it's not his time just yet.
I don't know if he's ever gonna forget this, to be honest.
스프링 우승컵을 들게 된다면 일단 제 인생의 목표를 딱 찍는 느낌이라서 그때는 제가 한 번도 경험해보지 못한 거라 모르겠어요. 제가 그거만 보고 달려왔었는데
He's got a double kill in the theory, making a triple, making a quadra. It's a pentakill for Prince.
For me, every title feels just as special as the previous ones or the future ones. You never know how long you're going to be at the top, you know? You never know how long you're going to be really good. I want to prove that I can do it for a really long time and that I'm one of the greats.
제가 프로가 되겠다고 결심한 순간부터 그런 꿈을 항상 그렸었죠. 들과 비교했을 때 좀 빠르게 달성했다고 생각을 하고 근데 또 거기서 자만하면 안 된다 생각하고 나태해지면은 옆에 계신 분들이 다 쫓아오니까 계속 열심히 해서 그 자리를 지키는 게 더 중요하다고 생각합니다.
It would be the first time in Golden Guardians history that they had ever won. And for me, it would just kind of make me feel like I'm back.
He's going in for the reset. Yellow's back up another one. He's going for three.
Golden Guardians punching their tickets to North Carolina, playing finals weekend for the first time.
자신감을 좀 회복하는 단계가 있어야 될 것 같아요. 근데 뭐 GG가 딱 저희의 먹잇감으로 와가지고
어디를 가든 프린스 어떠냐, 뭐 얼마나 더 이겨야지 이런 얘기를 안 들을까 싶네요.
I think we're just going to smash whoever we face in the finals 3-0, and I'm going to win my fourth.
Trying to find some way out of here.
The reason we compete is for the moments like this. Kind of means everything. Maybe it's a little overdue, but it was worth the wait.
The wait is over and finals weekend has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Raleigh, North Carolina, and welcome to two series that are going to determine our second representative to MSI and our Spring 2023 champions. I'm CaptainFlowers, that's Azael, that's Kobe, and this is finals weekend.
I am so excited. The energy in the stadium is already electric, and we haven't even started.
Yes, sir. It's always good to be back in these stadiums, hear the roar of the crowd, and I think we're going to be in for a really good series. You can see the predictions were split, a little bit towards FlyQuest's side, but pretty damn even down the middle.
And I think that is true to what it should be. Golden Guardians are the underdogs. They finished the regular season 9-9 in 6th place, but they've fought their way through playoffs tenaciously up to the finals weekend. And we'll get right into this draft because that has been a critical part of how they've been able to accomplish that.
It's the Golden Guardians that knocked out 100 Thieves. It's the Golden Guardians that knocked out Evil Geniuses. And it's the Golden Guardians looking to make a main character story out of their battle against FlyQuest here today. Let's look at the bans happening so far. It's Caitlyn, Sejuani, and Vi banned out by FlyQuest, largely targeting that jungle pool there, as the Annie and Lucian are banned out by Golden Guardians, really respecting Prince on the Lucian a lot.
And I think you have to respect the Zeri as well. Zeri right now, both of these AD carries, most played champion, biggest carry champion there is in League of Legends at the moment. Zeri goes unbanned. They ban the Lulu instead, the best partner for it, but you can still play it with other things like the Rakan, and we've seen other enchanters as well be paired with it. So if you really wanted to do that and sacrifice your jungle pick, then you could go for it. for it.
It'll be really interesting to see, you know, because I think Golden Guardians have to know that they're potentially giving that over, that it is really high prio. Stixxay was actually playing more of a different style of marksman in their previous series. It was fun seeing these flashbacks to 2016 when he's playing Tristana, and then to actually get here, he was playing Tristana, he was playing Caitlyn. These less popular marksmen, Varus is also available, so there's a lot of really power picks here.
And the thing is, though, if you pick the Zeri too early, we've seen from some of these better teams at this stage in the LCS where you had to play against it time and time again, the other teams will just answer that challenge and try to smack you in lane. It's Golden Guardians picking the K'Sante for themselves in the top lane, or potentially mid if they're willing to flex it there, and the Zeri locked in for Stixxay, denying it from Prince.
I think the hardest part about not picking Zeri early is your opponents will pick the Zeri for you.
I think the Zillion Hover here from Spica, maybe a little bit of a shout out to Bjergsen, who just announced his retirement.
GOAT retired. Shout outs to Bjergsen. Definitely impressive stuff for him. Most impressive career. Let's get into this though. Jayce picked up into the flex pick role here.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it is probably going to go for VicLa though.
Yeah, almost guaranteed it's going to go to VicLa. You know, he is the guy who has the Jayce game so far for FlyQuest. Not really an impact style champion, and it's actually going to be the Xayah here. Pick third for Fly. Because it is, you know, going into that next round of bans, I do expect Rakan to be banned away as that pairing. Of course, you can go for other pairings. You can go for other options. But it is one of those picks that is going to be able to absorb dive, and perhaps that's what they're expecting.
And we get River on Elise here. Once again, very early active jungler. He has been exceptional with it. The Jayce is one of the big champions that you usually want to pair with it, though. An AD mid laner there for River and Gori to really have that mid lane jungle synergy and go for some kills, because you're not going to want to pair too much with the K'Sante. So definitely going to see some mid lane bans here from FlyQuest to try and whittle down on the synergies between him and River.
There is still, of course, the opportunity for K'Sante to be that attack damage mid laner, but not quite the burst that you would want from something like a Jayce. Rakan, of course, that first ban for Golden Guardians in the second phase, keeping it away from Winsome, keeping the Rakan and Xayah duo separated as FlyQuest ban out the Gwen.
Well, and Golden Guardians has been down to flex pick, and we know that Gori actually does play some K'Sante mid. So potentially this could actually be going mid lane. We've seen a ton of Renekton from Licorice. There is awesome, some options there for them if they want to actually look for a really strong pairing in the top lane with that Elise.
And FlyQuest feel the same way. They ban out the Gwen. Possibly looking at, Fiora picks-ups and stuff as well for the top lane matchup, but it's a double ban on supports here from Golden Guardians, Rakan, and the Nautilus. And I feel like Winsome has been best when Winsome has been on engaged champions.
Yeah.
These are really good target bans from Golden Guardians, even with this swap last minute from FlyQuest, bringing Winsome back in and changing their support position.
And it's 3 support bans from Golden Guardians, plus they can take support here on 4, so they can push them even further down the pool.
And if we're talking about pools, it's the top lane pool targeted exclusively by FlyQuest in the second half of the bans, meaning they are expecting this K'Sante to be mid. They're not just looking at it as a possibility, they're looking at it as a likelihood. Golden Guardians are going to lock in the Leona to give them a big bang engage.
And I'm assuming with these two bans, it's probably going to be, like a Sion or some sort of tank topside for Impact, because they ban away the Gwen and the Olaf, two of Licorice's strong counter picks that he has used to abuse those tank top lines.
FlyQuest, what's it going to be? We lock that in. We do. It's Xayah with a Braum next to her. Prince is going to be difficult to dive, difficult to burst down here for the Golden Guardians this game.
All right, is it going to be the Sion reveal? What do you have for us, Impact?
The only problem if you go Sion is that you're pretty much purely physical damage, and I do think that, K'Sante is going to be really, really effective. Leona going to be really, really effective at tanking that up. Maokai, of course, could go some sort of hybrid build there if they actually want to look for some magic damage, but FlyQuest is definitely very, very focused towards physical.
And when you think about Maokai players, Spica played a lot of Maokai back when he was really overpowered, when Demonic Embrace was really overpowered. He is not afraid to build towards a little bit of AP before the tank.
There it is.
And there it is, the tank buster. The Fiora locked in top lane against Impact Sion, meaning K'Sante will be piloted by Gori in mid against the Jayce of VicLa.
And I like it. Golden Guardians are sticking with the strategy that got them here to this stage. Licorice saving the final counter pick for him, getting him a carry matchup on the top side of the map, and we'll have to track River here to see about some early action.
Exactly. I mean, they talked about it on the desk. It's 88% of the time in playoffs. Licorice has had counterpick. That trend is going to continue. This is not how they played in the regular season, but this is really how they found this kind of new strength from Licorice in the top lane, going towards these counterpicks and really trying to dominate. And the question, I think, for me about this series is really, can Licorice do that against Impact, who is known throughout his entire career for being this brick wall in the top lane that you just cannot punish?
The great neutralizer.
Yeah.
He's very good at playing to weak side. He does not require a ton of resources. He can play whatever needs to be played for the team. Going up against Licorice, who, for the longest time, the conversation around Licorice was always, he's been on a decline since his time in Cloud9. He's trying to get back to that glory, and sort of his appearance in playoffs, the way that they've surged to life with these strategies, playing around him, giving him some counterpick, is giving him that opportunity in a way that we haven't seen before, and I want to see how Golden Guardians take on FlyQuest here today. All right, let's rock and roll. It's time for the lower bracket final between FlyQuest and Golden Guardians. Winner here secures the second spot at MSI under the new format and gets a chance to play Cloud9 tomorrow for the LCS title. Everybody expected FlyQuest to make it here to finals weekend all split long, but the Golden Guardians have been such an upset performer here in playoffs.
I think one of the biggest things that FlyQuest have to guard against is tracking this Elise and making sure that River does not get a level 3 kill. Elise is such a powerful early ganker, but really the power spike, if you get your first blood, then you can just buy Sork Shrews and you run the map. You get the move speed, you get your flat spell penetration, and Elise becomes a monster.
And that's why, FlyQuest went for that 3-man early invade, get a ward there on Raptors to try to track this Elise on the early path. They know that River is a really aggressive player. He's on an especially aggressive champion, so he's going to be trying to get active very, very early on.
One thing I do want to point out here in the bottom lane, both of our AD carries running Cleanse here in the first game, both supports running Ignite. So there's a lot of kill pressure down here. If they can blow a couple summoner spells early on, hold that Ignite, get a jungler from either side involved. River now just clearing that red buff. The ward is going to see the chickens be pulled off to the side.
And the biggest thing, if you're playing a bottom lane like this that is double Ignite, double Cleanse with 2 CC supports, is to not use your Cleanse too early and not Ignite over your CC, because your Cleanse for your opponent will get rid of both the CC that stacks you as well as getting off the Ignite. So we'll have to see if they're able to hold it long enough, get some real value.
Yeah, the early push, though, going towards Golden Guardians, they're going to get level 2 first here, and are going to be pushing in. We know that Elise is clearing, top to bot, so we'll see where he wants to get active. If he is going to come down and try to cover this lane since they are pushing, you can see they've slowed it down a little bit, so potentially trying to get it to crash on this next wave.
And Flowers, you alluded to this in Champion Select, but Spica was the first LCS jungler to jump on the Amumu and Maokai train,
yes,
and did such a very good job tracking enemy aggressive jungles while still keeping up his clear on this champion that is supposed to be much more about tanking frontline later for team fights and keeping vision advantage for objectives with the saplings.
And when you're up against a team that's got Leona, that's got K'Sante, Isaac, you were talking about it, when it's Jayce and Xayah, your main damage threats, when Sion's also mostly AD, there's going to be a very difficult point, particularly around the mid game after they have a couple of armor items on these champions, where you're going to need some AP. But down here in the bottom lane, Huhi's in trouble and has to flash back. River was coming around from the side. They were trying to see if they could bait him into something here, I think. Golden Guardian's about to crash the wave. River missed the cocoon. He still has the repel. They want to put the aggro here on the Elise. The first blood goes over to the Golden Guardians, but FlyQuest get one back. Prince falls. It's 2-1 for the Golden Guardians.
Golden Guardians getting them both there. Huhi setting it up with that earlier engage to chunk them low. Did take the tower shot, which made it get a little bit dicey. He was lower health than he wanted to be for the dive, but they pull it off. The kills going to Stixxay and River are huge. But thankfully for FlyQuest, Prince got one back.
This is exactly what you need with this composition for Golden Guardians. They execute on it mid lane opportunity, spica, that since they saw Elise down bottom side, and he's looking mid, but Huhi's already off on the support recall from the successful bottom lane play because they pulled it off so quickly. And those Sork shoes that I mentioned for Elise, the big win off of bottom side, him getting one of those kills is so big. Going to be able to have a really, really quick impact now. You can just go Krug clear into Raptor clear and threaten more lanes.
And here's that initial engage where I got a little bit nervous for Huhi. They weren't quite able to proc that Braum passive, just needed one more auto. That's why he flashes out.
Right.
And went a little bit farther with his Zenith Blade, took the tower shot, and then they look for the redive. Huhi knows this is going to be a one-way trip for him. River initially does become the one to actually take aggro, then resets it with the repel. It goes on to Huhi. He's always going to go down, but River's able to flash out after that final tower shot hits him to survive.
Nicely done from Golden Guardians to get that early bot lane momentum flowing. Now the wave is pushing back to them. Stixxay will be able to farm this up. We don't have any major CS discrepancies across the map. The biggest one is in the jungle, where Spica's up a couple of camps because River took the time to go bottom to make that 2-for-1 dive happen. You can see in the inventory of Spica, the Giant's Belt. I am assuming this will be the demonic rush that we were talking about so that they can have a little bit of extra AP damage, have extra control around the neutral objectives as well.
After a bottom side dive like that, though, your wave is always going to push back towards you. So FlyQuest do a really good job using the bouncing wave here. They push out with their bottom lane to allow Spica to come in, play around the bottom lane, grab the bottom Scuttle Crab.
Oh, Impact to zoom.
Impact trying to get away there. He had to flash ulti to guarantee that he cleared the distance.
I actually love the presence of mind there, though. He would have died if he didn't actually fight for that last minion to get 6. He was level 5, and Licorice was looking for the all-in on this Sion. So he walks into Licorice, which looks counterintuitive, to hit 6, flash out, ult away, knowing that Licorice is playing Ghost, not Flash, so he can't actually flash in front of that ulti. So heads up stuff there from Impact.
Now it's going to be dangerous, though, because he just used everything. That was ult and flash, and River going to be attracted up to the top side. His wave is in a really bad spot for him, pushing super far out.
Licorice isn't 6, though. They need to wait for his 6. I don't know how many minions away.
Well, they might just go in without it anyway. Licorice and River looking for Impact, and I don't think they'll need to look very long. They step out of the way of the decimating smash. Impact's just gonna farm every minion he can on the way out. He knows he won't get anybody back with this dead form. And FlyQuest lose another kill over to Golden Guardians, but with the jungler in the top side, FlyQuest are making the call to go for the Drake.
Yeah, that's the problem with that play, is the wave state is more dangerous than actually the summer spell expenditure, but because you see enemy jungle on top side, you are going to get an objective for the death of Sion here for Impact, and now the wave does crash for him.
And I will say, I'm pretty surprised that River didn't just donate that over to Licorice, because Impact was dead to rights. There was no way he was actually getting out of that situation with no ult, no sums. The fact that Elise does take this hurts the Fiora a little bit. You know, it's not going to be helping as much in that 1v1. So it is a bit more pressure there on River to keep this momentum up. You know, he already got the early Sork boots. Now he's got the Hextech alternator. So is spiking and going to have to keep that pressure up.
So the reason I actually do like it is because River has an easier time transferring that advantage down to bottom lane. And that's what you really want for your win con for this game. I totally agree. Investing in a Fiora scaling for later is
jungler
good.
Over here.
But
kills, they're for me.
Yeah, I want to use that advantage. I want to take it bottom lane. Everybody knows where their meals are really made.
So is this the angel or the devil on your shoulder, Kobe? Because you did take the kill, but you're giving me an excuse about how it's for the team. So I can't quite tell which,
exactly.
which personality
I'm taking the kill, but it's for a good cause.
Yeah,
I swear.
exactly.
Come on, guys.
He's donating the money to the bot lane charity.
It's for Mr. President down on the bot lane. It's for Zeri.
Well, Golden Guardians are loving the state of the early game so far. 1,500 gold lead. They lost out on that first Drake, but the first one's usually not that big of a deal. I want to see if they can keep this momentum going. Down here in bottom lane, the summoner spells are all back up for everybody. Gori goes all out on VicLa, knocking him over the wall here, looking for a little bit of an additional damage, but can't find it. As Spica's going to be the first to reinforce, but River shows up on the other side, and that means nothing more goes down.
And that means, you know, 3 pushing lanes here for Golden Guardians, so you can get the Rift Herald. If FlyQuest try and do anything about it, they're going to lose something in one of their lanes because of the aggressive pushes here. But now, they are making that move over. Spica brute forces it.
VicLa's got control over mid. Gori's just left with clearing the wave duty.
Both bot laners are coming.
Stixxay, Winsome, and Prince. All 4 bot lane players have rotated up to the top side River. But River is on the wrong side of Summoner's Rift. He might just be caught here. Now he's going to get away as FlyQuest turns their attention over to the Spider, who he's ready to go. VicLa down to 300 HP. He might just die here at the very start. He holds on a second longer, but Stixxay guns him down. FlyQuest try to fight back, but Prince is the victim of regicide, and it's a triple kill over to Stixxay. Spica wants to get out, but Licorice has some lumberjack duty on his mind. Stixxay wants to put a couple more shots in him. He's unstoppable. Impact with a massive shutdown on the enemy AD carry to save something out of the fight. But Golden Guardians are shining bright here in Game 1.
Golden Guardians are cleaning up in North Carolina already. River picks up the Rift Herald afterwards. Gori's able to push in the wave, and that's why the spotlight on that 1v1 initially with VicLa, we're talking about him just softening up VicLa. Gets him down to 50%, and River into the fog of war, gets another chunk onto the Jayce. So they focus VicLa over and over. Huhi goes with the Zenith Blade into the stun. They chase him up towards the top side. They get the massive kill there, and then they're able to move in for the rest of the team fight.
Yeah, Stixxay, has that ulti pop. He's able to just try to chase him down here. He was feeling the penta. That's why he's flashing it after Spica. He doesn't want that Quadra to get away. Spica's retreating to the tower. He knows, I got to go in and try to take this down. Does get that kill, but Impact Q is charging up, and he is going to grab the shutdown for himself. Still, if that shutdown had to go to anyone, you'd like it to be on that Sion, not on someone like Prince or VicLa.
And you can even put more money into your Zeri now because you pick up the Eye of the Rift Herald, and River goes right back down to that bottom side.
I mean, you compare the itemization now for these bot laners. Prince is really far behind. You crash this Herald here for him, grab him a couple of plates. He's already have shield bow plus the tier 2 boots. Prince is so far away from his mythic completion that it's going to be this clear point of power. Golden Guardians can just play around all game long.
And it's a Zeri, man. It's not like this is ever going to get better once she gets off to a start like this. 5-1-1 here for Stixxay. Huhi next to him on this Leona. I always love a pick like this because it lets you decide when these fights are going to happen, lets you lead the way. Golden Guardians continuing to do so. 2,500 lead, less than 45 seconds till the Drake spawns. Remember, it was the Golden Guardians play on top side that opened up the bottom part of the map for FlyQuest to take the first one.
And I want to point out again what Huhi does, because you mentioned his Leona, and he's an in-game shot caller for the team. He also sends every support recall timer here for him. He has come down through mid lane to be able to make the play with the rest of his squad. Comes down once again, and all of these wards here for Golden Guardians being cleaned out by FlyQuest, trying to push in towards the Dragon spawn.
Yeah, the Dragon spawning here in 5 seconds, so it's a clear setup for it. Stixxay is pushing out bot, and River's there on the coverage.
Oh, Prince immediately loses his ultimate, but now how is River gonna get away from this? They immediately shut him down and blow him up. He's not able to take Prince out in time. Stixxay's gonna be crushed now as well. Golden Guardians overplay their hand, and FlyQuest breaks their finger.
The Braum Maokai completely shut that down. It looked like Prince was just gonna be toast, but Zeri cannot get through him. They proc the passive stun there, interrupting him from going over the wall, so Stixxay goes down as well, and they're gonna grab the second dragon here. FlyQuest fighting back.
And that's simply a case of strength in numbers. Even though Golden Guardians had to set up and River's got a good angle, because FlyQuest grouped up as 4, they have those peeling tools for Prince. They're able to get the turnaround, they get the better of it, they get the objective. Does cost them a little bit though. Gori gonna be able to push in.
2 Drakes to FlyQuest, shrinking that gold lead down a little bit. Up in the top side, we talked about Impact being the great neutralizer, this guy just being able to play any matchup without needing a ton of help. He's currently sitting in a wave and a half farm lead over the Fiora that was picked as a counter to him. And across the map, it looked bad for Prince, like you guys were saying.
Yeah, I mean, Prince just got absolutely chunked out there by River. The repel to try to go in, but then Maokai is there, Braum is there. Look at Winsome shutting the door on Stixxay, and the Braum passive proc there as Stixxay was going over the wall. Because he was closer to that side of the wall in the River than the other, he gets snapped back right into his enemies and goes down.
Yep, breaking all of those autos on the shield here for Braum, blocking all the damage. Really good peeling job by FlyQuest, and that's what this comp wants to do. A little bit of a preview of how they're going to try and execute in their team fights towards the later stages of the game. And since they got the early dragon stacking, that setup will be there.
Yeah.
It's a demonic embrace Maokai, because they have no other real big sources of magic damage, and even though sapling damage was nerfed, it still gives you that extra little bit of burn, and they're going to be able to set up and try and protect Prince.
And you have to say, Ocean Soul really strong on both sides. On one hand, if FlyQuest is able to get it, Impact is going to become this absolute brick wall you cannot get through. And on the other, that's going to allow you to actually shrug off so much of Jayce's poke and allow the Fiora to really not be threatened by any damage that Impact can do. So this is going to be a massive soul for both teams. You have to expect Golden Guardians to want to show up to try to use their 2K gold lead here to claim that third dragon.
Well, we don't have that dragon spawning for another 3 minutes or so. Rift Herald also not back on the Rift anytime soon. Right now, there was a bit of an advantage for Impact, who had completed his Sunfire Aegis, but Licorice just now purchasing the Divine Sunderer. He's going to go back to feeling good in this 1v1 again, as Spica and Winsome are trying to sit down some vision, sweep out a little bit of whatever they might be able to find. VicLa pushing up towards the top lane, tier 1. River wants to find him. Hextech Rocket Belt was completed. Cocoon fires into the brush, but doesn't quite hit the target, so VicLa gets away.
And I like this move for an early setup for FlyQuest. Rift Herald is coming onto the map, so you see the river is fully controlled by them. They trail with their duo lane, bringing everybody up to allow VicLa to continue the push here. They can push out top, they can push out mid, set up those saplings, make every brush so annoying to walk through.
And on the other side, you can see it's to set up this line of vision here, for Golden Guardians to try to keep Licorice safe, to try to give him the ability to push up, potentially threaten this 1v1. Now that he has Sunderer, you can actually start to hurt the Sion a little bit. Impact did, of course, get that 700 gold shutdown, which is going to put him ahead of the curve, but you really do need that Mythic online before you can threaten this tank.
Golden Guardians and FlyQuest squaring off in what may have been a 3v3, but Golden Guardians see what's waiting in that pixel rush before they get completely jumped on. Cocoon fires off, but again, doesn't hit a target. Prince with the Gale Force completed, Immortal Shield Bow on Stixxay, so more tankiness for Stixxay, more playmaking opportunity, outplay potential for Prince on that Xayah. Golden Guardians bringing Gori down here into the topside river as well. VicLa on the toppest part of that river, going back up into topside, looking to push that wave into the tier 1 turret. The second Herald is spawned, and the teams are fighting for position over this.
And FlyQuest's goal right now is to get little bits of chip damage, Jayce poke, Maokai saplings, soften up Golden Guardians before the full commitment.
And it's worth noting, because it is Ocean Rift, it's even easier to get those empowered saplings. It's so annoying playing against a Maokai here, and Gori now finds VicLa out. He's gonna go all out.
He's all out, and VicLa's forced to flash over the wall to stay alive. Now Gori's got to make sure he can take the blast cone back to safety, so FlyQuest can't form a pincer attack. Impact finds his way straight into the wall as River goes up into the air. Huhi's gonna be killed first. Prince gets the money, and FlyQuest gets the angle. Stixxay gets back for now. Licorice is still in the bottom lane, but FlyQuest win the fight with a single kill, and they've got control over the river.
Yep, they should be able to clean up the Rift Herald number 2. Mid lane's going to get pushed by Prince, Dragon spawning while Licorice is pushing on the bottom wave. So they're going to be able to contract over to the Dragon. River not quite giving it up yet. He does technically have his flash, but it would be very crazy to go for that.
Yeah, and Impact, just that TP towards topside makes all the difference. As Licorice wanted to stay bot, wanted to push for the tower. He does get it. But because Impact gets that first initial kill, says, all right, we've won the fight, immediately based, heads back down to bot. He's covering that tier 2, so it is just the trade of that tier 1 bot for the kill they got on top and the Herald. So I think it's still beneficial for FlyQuest.
Here's the reset for this Dragon spawn in 19 seconds.
This is an important one, with both Drakes so far in the possession of FlyQuest. Securing this puts them on soul point for the rest of the game. It creates a never-ending looming threat above the head of Golden Guardians that they then cannot let any more of these go for the rest of the match.
Good toggle here by observers. You can see the difference in this team fight. Golden Guardians with the Fog of War advantage. Can't set up all those saplings ahead of time there for FlyQuest, and so they're going to move off of their mid-wave push while the Dragon's already down to 3K.
Impact positioning himself in the pit to guarantee they always have vision over the objective and exactly how much HP it's going to have left. Around the side they go. Gori's into the middle of 3 as Prince is going to be targeted. Gori goes all out and Prince has to flash over the wall trying to stay alive. River destroys them and Stixxay is going to be traded back. It's 4v4 with neither AD carry still left standing and a double kill over to VicLa. FlyQuest win another fight.
This is going to be Dragon Soul Point number 3 for FlyQuest, but they go back in.
Golden Guardians are not done. Huhi's the target. He's here on the front. They stick around. They claim the Drake. FlyQuest are still fighting this out. VicLa's low, but Licorice has already used riposte. Gori with a flash back over the wall. Golden Guardians stuck around too long. They give away 3 kills on top of losing the objective, and their entire lead is gone.
I mean, Golden Guardians going back in there, they had no damage to actually take down these beefy members. It's just the Fiora with no ultimate available. There's no shot they were going to be able to burst them down. And yes, they chase down Prince and they get the kill, but you have to track Stixxay in this fight. Stixxay is somewhat abandoned by his team as everyone goes all in for Prince.
And look how it happens here. So they dive in onto Prince, the Xayah ults. Huhi then flashes back out away from the feathers. The Maokai ult catches everybody else. And Stixxay's trying to follow up on them, but the Sion finds him, and he's right next to VicLa. So both AD carries down, and the Dragon auto attacks slowing down River. Very annoying, can't get the spider out. This here, though, is a bit of a Golden Guardians golden throw. They don't have that damage. Licorice is the damage, and look at him, he's Fiora. Hasn't even gotten a single auto off yet. It was 2 tanks re-engaging there, even though Maokai was still tanking the Dragon. I don't think that's ever a good look for the Golden Guardians. It felt like a moment of frustration for them where they really did not want to give away Dragon number 3 and set up this soul point situation for themselves, because now they look at it and it just seems so incredibly difficult.
VicLa topping the damage charts in that last fight here on his Jayce. 5, 1, and 2, playing a huge role in this game. But even more so, I've got to credit Impact. He's getting where he needs to go every single time. Whether it's first to the Rift Herald fight, whether it's finding the Zeri in the chaos of a team fight, Impact is again showing how good he has been for so long.
And this is why, even with counter pick available, they pick Sion for him. They pick Impact. This is how Impact has made so many LCS highlights, is being that front line. He's going to have a bigger impact than a Fiora in a team fight.
Yeah.
It was very apparent there.
And it's so problematic when you're trying to play these split push win conditions if you can't take any of the early Dragons, because it forces you to come and take these 5v5s that the other team has built their comp for. You know, they have no more gold lead. They're actually down in gold now at this point, and they're going to be forced to 5v5 here in what is going to be a very difficult fight for them to win. There's no ability for them to just play side lanes and go for those split push shenanigans, try to rush down towers. If you give over Ocean Soul, Impact's going to shrug off everything you're doing.
And I think if we take a moment to pull back and look at this series as a whole, this is a very, very important one for FlyQuest to have VicLa showing up as a massive carry threat alongside Prince. So much during the regular season, everybody was focused on Prince. And that's exactly what happened in the last team fight. All resources used towards Prince, but VicLa was able to carry.
Spica has to flash over the wall there as Huhi went in, seeing if maybe Golden Guardians could force a pick on the enemy jungler. There might be opportunities to set up for a bear and lure them in or something else after that, but Spica with the flash away guarantees his own safety. VicLa is going to walk up into the brush, find Gori, but Gori is the one who found him with Licorice right beside him. They shut him down before the rest of FlyQuest is able to arrive. Now can Gori and Licorice fight their way out? Impact has come to reinforce
Prince isn't here,
team.
there's no tower.
Prince is nowhere nearby. Spica already fired off the ulti. River, cocoon over the wall, sets up Licorice for a little bit more damage. Now the Spider Bite's ready to follow through, but a decimating smash stops the chase. FlyQuest get away, but they lose their mid lane.
Super smart trailing little play here from Licorice. He just starts his recall in the side lane brush, just waiting for an opportunity, and Golden Guardians recognizing, yeah, VicLa carried the last fight. Now they pull off a side lane little pick on him. That's some nice gold. It doesn't completely change the face of the game, but definitely a good shutdown to collect for themselves.
Yeah, good kill that they're able to pick up. It's second item now done here for Licorice, but Golden Guardians was really wanting more. Prince was staying mid lane during that whole time, you know, just collecting gold, pushing up on those towers. You know, he's getting a lot off of that. He's already on his 2 items and actually, you know, pretty much caught up with where Stixxay is at this point after Stixxay had an enormous lead early on.
So not only did they get the kill onto VicLa there in the bottom lane, let's not forget that they also got Spica's flash beforehand. They got Impact's teleport coming down to reinforce the play, and they got Winsome's flash as well. So Golden Guardians are going to have to take advantage of that summoner spell edge if they want to try to stop this Drake Soul in 30 seconds.
It's hard though, man. I mean, it's already FlyQuest with that setup here around the Dragon, and you're gonna have to face check through all these Maokai saplings on this Ocean Rift here, and then try to get through the brick wall that is Impact.
Look at this super deep ward they have available for Golden Guardians too. That technically could be a flank ward. They really want to pull something off. Gori right now is split pushing on the Cassante, as you can see, trying to get up to topside tower.
Well, he's going to have to join up here with the team pretty soon. That Cassante is very important for being able to face check into this FlyQuest setup. Gori still up in the top lane for now, has the Unleashed teleport. There he is teleporting to that potential flanking ward, but the Drake is dropping fast. It's already at 3k HP. This play was so delayed. Gori with the flash over the wall to interrupt Impact. The Ocean Soul goes to FlyQuest, but what about the fight after? Golden Guardians have to try to get more than this. They just gave away Soul for a kill on the enemy Sion. FlyQuest walking up all the way to the top side river.
Yeah, FlyQuest just knows the only counterplay here for Golden Guardians is to try to flip Baron. So they're trying to actually camp in this brush and look for a pick themselves.
Trying to buy a little bit of time to poke around and let Licorice split push. That is the main hope for Golden Guardians, if they can get something going with this Fiora. Now they know, yeah, we're completely outmatching these 5v5s. We have to make use of the only strength that we have still as an advantage, and Licorice gets half of a tower.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, but honestly, Fiora against Sion with Ocean Soul, I don't think you're killing this guy. It's going to become so difficult for him to get any purchase in that side lane, because it is supposed to hit this point where you hit multiple items, you're doing so much true damage, you can whittle down that Sion, maybe not 100 to 0, but get him low enough that you can threaten that.
Yeah.
With Ocean Soul, that just never happens.
No, it's pretty rough going here for the Golden Guardians at this point in the game. Their early game lead looked so good,
Yeah.
but FlyQuest outmaneuvering them at a couple of different critical fights, being able to find the angles they needed. Impact getting in there in the Rift Herald fight, Impact finding Stixxay in the great AD carry trade, and then the team-wide blunder of going back in bottom lane really feel like the most impactful moments for Golden Guardians losing that lead. But now FlyQuest have decided they're going to start up the Baron. They're doing this slowly. They're not just trying to burn it down. They want the Golden Guardians to come and answer. They want to be able to turn on them. VicLa rotating up through mid lane as Gori's going to look to do the same. Stixxay gets tagged, jumps over the wall. He's going to get focused down. Stixxay, he thought he was just baiting him, but he's going to get run over. FlyQuest have punished Golden Guardians, who have completely lost control over the game. Now they're going to lose their support. It's both bottom laners down. Licorice tears away at the tier 2 in the bottom side, but it's not going to matter when FlyQuest are looking for Baron.
Yeah, that should be Baron for them. Even though they lose the secondary tower, super worth it for FlyQuest. Now with the Baron, they can push in on Golden Guardian's base. River here is still threatening for a steal, though, so VicLa tries to keep him out.
VicLa going in, wants to just burst down this Elise. River has a flash, but he's not going anywhere with it. Now Gori has to just try to get away. FlyQuest are in a commanding lead at this point.
Just really well played here by FlyQuest. As soon as you got Ocean Soul, there's no danger to starting up those Baron with the tanks. You're going to stay full health this whole time. So they're slowly whittling away at it, but they're looking for the turn. This Q tag from Winsome there nails Stixxay and then knocks him up out of his dash with his own ultimate. They hit the blast plant over the wall to actually knock him back into the team. Beautifully played there from the sub support.
Yeah, Winsome coming in, just the tip of that Braum ultimate, catching Stixxay as he's trying to flip back over the wall, getting the kill onto the Golden Guardians carry, and now with that Baron buff, FlyQuest going to do some real damage.
Licorice having to immediately retreat from this bottom lane tier 1. FlyQuest looking to take a lot of standing gold here. They are massively far ahead, but not a ton of it is just in direct gold advantage. A lot of it is in the Drake soul, the Drakes themselves that they farmed up, the Baron that they currently possess. But there's so many of these turrets left for them to take, that gold lead itself could be north of 5,000 by the time this Baron wears away.
And there is good playmaking on the Golden Guardian side, but the difficulty is, who do you even target? Really, you only have VicLa as an option. You'd want to go for Prince, but it's Azael with ultimate and cleanse and flash, everything available.
Yeah.
The other three guys, you can't really go for the Maokai, Braum, Sion. They're all too tanky. So it only leaves you with VicLa as an option, who has a stopwatch in inventory and this whole team of bodyguards.
Yeah, at this point, FlyQuest have way too much disengage. Really smart defensive picks in Maokai, Braum for them. And then since VicLa has been able to carry, very, very rich poke damage is going to come down through this Jayce. And Golden Guardian's going to have to make a really, really low, low chance of success play, but they're going to have to go for it anyways. You have to throw those Hail Marys when you're in a desperate situation.
I mean, a 5% chance is better than what they're looking at right now if they play this out slow. So they're going to have to try to look for something, as you say, but incredibly difficult to pull it off. At the very least, Stixxay does have 3 items here, and they do have this Fiora trying to play sides, but Huhi has been caught out.
Man, there's no way out of that one for Huhi. It's just more money in VicLa's pocket. Another kill for the mid laner of FlyQuest. Gori, Stixxay, and River working together to just beat through this massive wall of health that is Impact. They will take him down, so they at least get something back. But as the Baron won't have a whole lot of usability left on it, only 30 seconds to go, and they're down a man for the next 45. This is going to settle out around a 4,000 gold lead after the Baron's done.
And they're just going to start playing for Elder, right? This is the next objective here on the map. It's 1 minute until that Elder spawns, so go back to base, start picking up those banks, start setting up that line of vision around the Elder, which FlyQuest can then use to potentially push in and try to end this game.
7-2 for the Jayce of VicLa. The dude has been putting in so much work in this game. 1-1-6 for Spica's Maokai. Even if it's not as strong as it used to be, he's still having awesome games on it. Their control over the objectives, their setup, making sure they can burn these things down, the calls around things like burning down the Drake quickly for the Soul, taking the Baron nice and slow. The communication on FlyQuest seems crisp right now.
Yeah, that's why I want to give so much praise to VicLa so far for this series, because in FlyQuest series versus Cloud9, he was a liability. And he has completely turned it around, being a major threat in this one.
Yeah, the two people that people talked about were VicLa and Ayla. You know, Winsome, I think, subbing in, playing really well on the Braum so far. It's not exactly the flashiest of champions, but he is really, I think, making an impact in a lot of these fights, making Stixxay's life so difficult to actually try to get damage onto these carries that he needs to. It's just not been possible with Winsome blocking the way at every turn.
All right, Golden Guardian's got to hope that Stixxay's got a cannonball arm and can throw the ball all the way down the field. This is kind of put up or shut up time, and FlyQuest is ready to fight him. Now you got the teleport coming in on the back, but the Golden Guardians are already taking a whole lot of damage. Gori's going to be bursted down before anything else happens, and Spica takes the kill. Golden Guardians running for the hills as Prince chases them down. A double kill over to Xayah as everybody in Golden Guardians colors collapses. They don't even need the Elder. FlyQuest are going for the edge.
Yeah, they're going to look to push it down mid here. Licorice, though, trying to find Prince.
He looks for him. He issues the grand challenge. Prince gets away. He's stunned up. Winsome on protection duty, but he failed. The VIP is down, and Licorice will buy as much time as he can. He's got to deal with two tanks. Fiora should win these. It's just going to take about 4 years. Okay, Impact and VicLa are coming back down now. They realize this is a problem. Honestly, Licorice just stopped the game from ending.
Yeah, he saved the game from ending there, giving them another chance here, at least one more fight. Great parry. How much time can he buy?
Licorice is just taking them all on an incredible journey through Summoner. This is a Trick 2G video. What's going on here?
Run, young man, run!
Get out of there, Licorice. Oh, nope, he's just going to go for the healing on the vitals. Oh, he finally gets taken down. But an incredible fight from Licorice on the back end of that one.
Yeah, valiantly fought there. He's going to be able to save the game for now. The rest of the Golden Guardians have arrived, and they're starting up the Elder.
Here we go. Golden Guardians. They're saying we got to do it, even though it's a 4v5. They know their only chances here. You give away Elder, the game is going to go. Spica fires off the ulti. River is locked down. The Drake's at 5,000. Gori dies first. Impact takes the kill as Huhi's at 300. Now the focus turned right back onto Stixxay with Zeri out of the picture. It's a FlyQuest Elder.
Yeah, they had to try to rush it because Prince was respawning. He was walking out of base, so they briefly had that 4v4 chance here. But FlyQuest win in the 4v4. River will fall. They will claim the Elder, and look at Prince. He's running down mid here, trying to push this up. FlyQuest are going to have everything they need to close out game number one.
It'll be Huhi and Licorice alive trying to fight them, but you're in a 2v5 against a team with a 10,000 gold lead and an Elder Drake. It is essentially impossible, but Golden Guardians, they're looking at probably the last couple seconds here of game number one. FlyQuest, they've got the wave from mid lane. They're going to put the damage into the first Nexus turret. Huhi goes in, Huhi goes out. Golden Guardians, they had a real nice early game, but FlyQuest team fighting proves superior. FlyQuest shot calling proves superior. FlyQuest trying to end this game, but Licorice just killed Prince. FlyQuest still needs to win the fight if they want to find the victory, and the Elder Dragon's gonna do it just fine for him. Gori absolutely obliterated as River tries to scurry away, and FlyQuest wants to pad those stats. A double kill to Winsome, and FlyQuest take game one.
Big opening game for FlyQuest here. VicLa on the Jayce steps up huge. They keep really focused on their win cons. Dragon, 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 forcing these objectives, forcing Golden Guardians to come to them, and forcing a game one victory.
Yeah, FlyQuest looking really strong in that first game, but you have to give credit to Golden Guardians for the early game. You know, they were able to create some pretty massive advantages, but they were never able to actually take any of those dragons away from FlyQuest. Despite the early lead, it was FlyQuest who got the first couple pretty much for free. Then they were able to actually set up these picks and set up some advantageous fights even when they were at a gold deficit to be able to snowball that. Because we did see some glimpses from Golden Guardians. We saw obviously what Fiora could do once she gets to enough items, but he just never really had time to play those side lanes because they gave up every early dragon.
And I've got to praise Impact in these situations because remember, the first Drake went to FlyQuest because River and Licorice are killing Impact in the top side. Impact dies, okay, whatever. He's back to being 2 waves of farm ahead. The Fiora's never getting any advantage in that 1v1. This was the question we had. How can Licorice deal with Impact? The answer in game number 1, he can't.
Yeah, I think it's really that dragon where they're face-checking the tri-brush, and it's team coordination for FlyQuest.
All right, a reminder, my friends, Viva la LCS! LCS in Espanol is the official Spanish language stream of the LCS. This new viewing experience is live on LLA's Twitch and YouTube channels right now. Scan the QR code or go to lolesports.com to learn more. But with Game 1 wrapped up, we're going to head back over to the LCS Lounge to break that one down.
Very much of Flowers. This series is already delivering here between FlyQuest and Golden Guardians, but it will be FlyQuest who gets game number 1. And I want to kick things off in the draft, Mark, because we had a lot of conversation about Golden Guardians' approach in the offseason and how they had taken a different draft approach than a lot of teams and had, up to this point, netted them success.
It was the same idea where they have this Cassante flex going into last pick for Licorice. They had the angle, but the problem was FlyQuest had drafted 3 frontline, and Fiora into Braum, Maokai is never going to get to, like, proc a ton of vitals during a team fight. Yeah. It's very difficult to do, at least, and I think that made it so difficult for the side of Golden Guardians to play this game out. Not like Licorice had a bad game, but this super beefy front line without enough DPS from like an actual carry mid laner, if you put the Cassante top or something, would have been a much better angle to me.
And since these two team comps are kind of both designed to try to get at the AD carry, right? We saw from these fights, once both AD carries die, if they both die early in the fight, well, they still have long-range poke from the Jayce coming out of VicLa, and that was actually another massive thing that showed up for FlyQuest in a lot of these team fights, especially around mid-game.
Yeah, it felt like they wanted to be a little scrappy, Golden Guardians, that is. And so, like, I was looking at the draft, and I agree with you, Mark, specifically on how FlyQuest wanted to play it. So when I see the Leona coming in, I'm like, not too sure about it coming in blind. You're also going into Xayah that's already been picked early. So now you're going into, I mean, once you see the full draft, it's a Braum, it's a Xayah with cleanse and ulti, of course, and it's just really hard to get on the carries of FlyQuest in general.
Yeah. With that being said, the carries died a lot. Prince died, I think, 7 times. Prince died 6 times, Stixxay died 7 times. It started really well for Golden Guardians. With the Elise, they need to jump out to a massive lead. And honestly, Stixxay did get a ton of kills. Licorice was able to get a kill on an Impact. The early game was pretty much by design exactly what Golden Guardians would have needed to win the game.
Yeah, River was all over the map. There was one point you could see he was about, like, I think 20 CS behind Spica, but was getting so much stuff done in these side lanes. You saw even in both of those ganks, when he missed stuff, they were still able to get the kill and stay ahead.
And I think this moment was incredibly crucial because right about now, we're thinking FlyQuest is doomed. Stixxay has 5 kills. He's on Zeri. They're going to get Rift Herald, but then he sees the triple. The blood is in his eyes. He actually ends up giving a bounty over to Sion, which gives away a lot of their advantages. Now Impact is very big, hard to kill, and can buy space like this.
This goes back to Mark's initial point, right? You've got a ton of tanks on the side of FlyQuest who can absorb a lot of that damage, and when you handed that much gold over to Impact early, of all the players, he's going to utilize it well, being a frontliner for his team.
And I think this is also what we're talking about with VicLa as the backup carry here. It's like, okay, both AD carries are dead. Jayce is going to have a better time fighting with a Maokai locking people down, a Braum providing shielding and all this stuff. And it was just team fight after team fight that FlyQuest were able to win.
Yes, and I looked at Stixxay's positioning a lot of times. It's just really hard for him to join fights, especially when you see a Sion ult straight into his face. You're like, okay, yeah, I got to worry about that. Maokai, that's slowing him down with ulti. I thought Spica's ultis in general were really well done to separate the AD carry from the rest, from the front line. So it was a good job from FlyQuest from a deficit to climb back.
Now, before we dive into more about how FlyQuest was able to claw this one back, I want to spotlight a specific play and hand this one to you, Raz. It was River in that top lane gank, just to put further focus on his pathing and ingenuity using the Hex Flash.
Classic. It doesn't matter what champion he's on, if he's Jarvan or whatever. He's trying to see if there was a potential ward in Tribush or something and dodge that. So this is a gank that you saw that happened in the earlier highlight, but just talking about how he got it done, yes, they get early game advantages because of what River is able to accomplish because of his pathing. And so it doesn't matter that if he's missing his E or whatever the hell is happening there. It's just his pathing is allowing them to get early game leads. That's important going into the later games in this series. It's not over yet. So that was, I felt great. But then obviously, you gotta land it. This game was rough.
Yeah. Once again,
damage by VicLa.
Yeah, I am going to point out VicLa because we saw it in that Drake fight earlier. Once both AD carries died, and these two teams were hard targeting Stixxay and Prince respectively, he's still doing a ton of damage, and he has a front line of Braum, Sion, and Maokai to fire like from the back.
And I think it's so huge for them long-term this weekend if VicLa's playing well. He was kind of the second primary carry behind Prince, and even sometimes having the primary carry role depending on the game. And here, with Winsome back in, Spica on Maokai, VicLa playing well, it is very reminiscent of Round Robin 1 FlyQuest, where he was actually able to win a lot of games for them.
It's only so often, too, that you see the AD carry being the second lowest damage on the team overall at the end
was a decoy.
of the game, but he really was. I'll absorb all the pressure, and Sion and Jayce will go do all the damage. You mentioned Winsome, though, and the substitution, while the early game didn't go well necessarily for FlyQuest, he was a pivotal part of FlyQuest getting the win, and it was him who delivered that win around Baron. On the Braum, he gets a crucial pick here onto Stixxay, knocking him up and preventing him from being able to get this blast cone out to safety.
Yeah, you don't traditionally think of Braum as someone who can shut down Zeri. This was one of the many examples, actually, whenever Stixxay was trying to get into a fight, Winsome was actually holding his Qs and tagging him every time he was trying to enter so the rest of the team could proc the stun.
Now the road to the 2023 LCS Spring Finals has led us here to Raleigh to celebrate the best of what NA has to offer. Speaking of offers, get some friends together and make sure you have a big appetite, because when you order Buffalo Wild Wings on Grubhub now through April 10th, you can get 50% off on traditional or boneless wings for up to $8 off on orders of $25 or more. Terms do apply, so make sure you check those out. Let's talk about game number 2, though, because while Golden Guardians started hot, ultimately the win slipped away from them. They get side selection here, game number 2. They're opting to jump over to blue side. No substitutions across both teams. Mark, let me start with you. They're kind of forfeiting that possibility of a counter pick in some ways.
Yeah, I feel like against Impact, it's not as important, and they just want prio picks. I think especially what Raz highlighted with how good River was playing in the early game, it does show that this series is pretty hot and alive to me, where anything can happen, because the draft felt very FlyQuest favored, but you saw Golden Guardians are still very scary in the early game.
And one thing, if we're just talking about the draft, I feel like Golden Guardians have been really good at being able to play against a Rakan or against a Lulu. Like Huhi's Soraka pick, I think, has been great throughout the regular season up until this point. So I feel like opening up the Lulu perhaps could help them out. I know that they're afraid, because they also banned the Lucian, of just like giving Winsome an Enchanter pick, where he doesn't have to lane necessarily on a Lucian Nami, and he just empower Prince to do the work. So I feel like if you are able to give counter pick to support, they can get away with a lot. So I'm looking forward to what they get on blue side.
Looks like Golden Guardians is done and ready. They're like, well, we have a blue side strap prepared for the series.
Honestly, I was like, everybody's looking in different directions.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? There's nothing left to discuss, I guess. Okay, that was a bit about draft. What about in the play? Because you always kind of fall back on these ideas. Well, we had the lead. Was it not winnable? Was there not something else we could have changed in our approach to the game with that lead?
I think they got a little bit impatient.
Okay.
I think that's very common when you're on a big stage like this for the first time in a while. I think Gori would be the player that I look at that needs to perform at a higher level. I've talked to a lot of people. He was first team mid lane for the entire LCS. Some people think he's just clearly the best mid laner in the LCS, and he's played 3 games of Cassante in a row now. It didn't have a high impact in that particular game. I'd like to see him on a more traditional carry pick.
Veigar.
Jayce.
Honestly,
Jayce.
Veigar, Jayce, Victor, any of those things would be fine for Gori.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. I mean, it is definitely a tall order, because we talk about one of the most pivotal members of FlyQuest in that game was Impact. Yes, he got gifted some gold with that shutdown in the top lane, but he is that member of FlyQuest that you can always rely on. We referenced the championships at the top of the day. It's 8 total championships across the entire roster of Impact. 7 of those are the roster of FlyQuest, 7 of those are held by Impact. On the other side, of course, it's a little bit more disparate in terms of the distribution.
And we talked about how, last week we talked a lot about how, okay, is this red side draft strategy and the flexes maybe going to work against someday? And it did, right? Like they used it really, really well against EG. I think with Impact, we've talked on this desk about Impact so much, and how not only does he have picks like Sion like this, where he had a really good game when he was coming into fights, was actually super crucial in the parts where they were trying to turn it around, but also he can just sometimes pick some random stuff to go up against whatever his lane opponent is feeling. Like if he's feeling it, we've seen the Shen.
Yeah.
Sion was one of them. We've seen Urgot. Like I'm not suggesting these things. I'm just saying the strategy that Golden Guardians had employed is a lot less impactful.
Yeah, he's got
against
top
Impact.
die tank picks, top die bruiser picks, top die assassin picks. You know, I'm sure he's got it all. He's got a champion Ocean at this point, Rez.
Yes, exactly. And I like the point that you made about impatience. Golden Guardians had like a good hold of this game. And the big point of the Tri-Bush was that FlyQuest were in the river at the same time. It was actually their VicLa that was rotating earlier. So just be a lot more patient in your plays, and I think that they'll be able to hold the leads that they have.
A solid victory for FlyQuest in game one. Unfortunate for Golden Guardians to let that one slip away. Now, as we head to break, we can't forget to thank Verizon 5G for helping make our show possible. Verizon Internet is fast, reliable, and has no actual annual contract, no hidden fees and no surprise price hikes. Scan the QR code on your screen right now to see if Verizon Home Internet is available in your area and score a League of Legends Hex Tech chest and key while supplies last. And with FlyQuest taking game number one, maybe it's time to consider a jersey swap. Take a look.
Hey everyone, Amelie from FlyQuest here. When you hear the word LCS, what do you think of? League of Legends? Fierce competitive gameplay? Well, what about trash? Trash of a variety of shapes, sizes, and colors. Colors like blue, and whatever that is. Waste that no one wants and no place will take.
Oh, disgusting.
Introducing the FlyQuest Clean Up the League campaign. Just find a official FlyQuest employee or yours truly at finals weekend, then exchange one of your old crappy jerseys for a brand spanking new FlyQuest one. And as a thank you for helping, you'll receive 50% off of your purchase of a 2023 FlyQuest Spring jersey. But wait! There's more! The first 100 people to trade in their old LCS jersey will get theirs completely free! Wow! Swing by the FlyQuest booth at finals, and I'll see you there.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
We have to tell everyone that we just switched to Verizon's new Welcome Unlimited plan for just $30.
I've already told everyone.
Wait, did you say Verizon for just $30?
It's their best unlimited price ever.
$30? That's awesome. Yeah, and it's from the most reliable 5G network in America.
For $30 a line, I'm switching now.
Yeah, it's easy. And you get $960 when you switch the whole family.
Wow, I gotta let my buddies know.
We're already here.
The network you want, the price you love, only from Verizon.